All right. Well, I kind of like this way of doing it. I even, before I started broadcasting slash recording, I put a link. So if anybody sees that in the next 5 minutes, it's just going to be a very quick video, 5, 10 minutes, whatever. Um, they could show up. I kind of think that's maybe a neat thing. So two things I thought I'd talk about in reverse order. I was going to make this video first because the Feminist Frequency has made a new video about women as background props in video games. But first, let me talk about this NIXON story that's come out. Um, so we've known for years, it's been rumored rather, that Nixon's campaign tried to get the peace with in the Vietnam, with the North Vietnam, to slow that down so it wouldn't be an October surprise that would help his opponent, whoever that was, Humphrey, or it was something LBJ would do, but to help another Democrat. So um, So yeah, basically it's a simple thing. So this you could go look at the news that came out, but basically the National Archives has released a report that was done during the Nixon uh, administration and then sealed or whatever, I guess. And Mitchell, who's that? John Mitchell? It's not George Mitchell. That was the senator or something, wasn't it? Anyway, someone Mitchell, I think it was. You just have to check the facts yourself. But his campaign manager, um, and it had to be under Nixon's command, and that's what the report says that was released, that they had sent a message to tell, to say that Vietnam would get better terms if they waited and did a peace agreement, a ceasefire or whatever, with the Nixon administration. And it's just like, this is the kind of thing anybody that is politically savvy even a little bit knows is going on. And it's just funny because like right now when the Republicans are all over Obama about everything, who I'm just sick as could be about Obama because of the human rights crimes as far as I'm concerned, and cozying up to the banks. There's plenty of stuff. But still, I don't act shocked and enraged. I mean, basically, when they get all upset about something like Benghazi, it's really like, well, if I was in that situation, I know here's what I'd do. That's what Obama's doing. And, and in a case like that, it just looks politically stupid because there's not very far to take that. I mean, why would you think you could make that kind of hay out of that particular tragedy when your hero and God incarnate walked the earth in the form of Ronald Reagan, had the whole Beirut bombing? I mean, if he could be forgiven for not being omniscient, then how is this going to carry you a lot of miles? And it's really just hypocrisy, pure hypocrisy. And this is the thing that gets me about conspiracy theorists, is that I really feel they should just go through history. It's like you could just become a history buff, and there's plenty of conspiracies that have been discovered, and it gives you at least a good idea of what kind of things they do. And of course, it'll make you into a conspiracy oriented person a little bit, because they're doing this shit all the time. All right, so the other thing is that Feminist Frequency that had the Kickstarter doing the tropes against women in video games. It's just funny. She doesn't allow comments, isn't allowing comments at the latest video. I guess in general she doesn't. And I haven't seen anybody responding. I went to see if anybody had their cackles up yet, because what I find kind of entertaining about this whole thing is just how upset, like, so many gamers, and they're just certain that she's bad-mouthing gamers. But like, I watch her this series of videos. It's pretty easy to do. She doesn't come out with them that often. And really, she's bad-mouthing game designers. And the only really bad thing I've seen her say explicitly, is that when gamers say, well, it doesn't affect me that way, You know, when I have virtual sex with the stripper and then kill her to get my money back, it doesn't have an effect on my way of thinking or my framing. And, you know, that's a debatable topic, but the science is pretty much in. Yeah, if you're primed for those things and you learn certain metaphors, it affects your way of thinking, but it doesn't mean it's going to make you a murderer. But she's not saying that you are a murderer. She's saying that there's a statistical, and she's not even saying it. This is just the premise of these kinds of things, is that there is a statistical effect when you have a statistical sample, like, say, 300 or a million or a billion people. You know, then whatever slight influence or percent is going to have a certain effect. They're just pretending that, well, it doesn't matter, doesn't exist, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, the other thing I guess you could infer that she is saying that would be an insult is if you love that part of those games, you just love beating up that virtual reality prostitute, get your money back, then I think you probably take offense at what she's saying. Like, there's something wrong with that. But there is. There actually is kind of something wrong with that. But nobody's perfect, you know, and I actually support that we should be able to have video games with all kinds of things, including horrible things, just like with movies. But you gotta say there's something wrong with video games, because it's not just some video games explore the dark area, you know, because we certainly have these torture porn type movies. Yeah, that reminds me, Snake Plisskenus is back making videos, and he used that term, and I've used that term before, and I think you know, like Saw and the Centipede movies, that kind of stuff. And but it's not all movies, right? It's not taking over all movies. And while you can rarely say all of anything is gone a certain direction, if you add up the dollars spent making video games and spent buying them, it's a huge bulk of the curve where it's just ridiculous, the kind of violent fantasies that are going on in these virtual worlds. I mean, I think it's very good to make a critique of it. You know, especially people get really mad at her, but there's people out there that want to make that kind of stuff illegal, and it's a slippery slope maybe, but Feminist Frequency I don't see her arguing for that. She's just saying, hey, you know, face what's going on here. And it's true. And people are just really upset. And also people just like to make it in an advocacy sort of situation where, you know, like I'm supposed to go, well, I don't agree with everything she says, or blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't have to do any of that. She's not my cup of tea. I only watched her stuff, or originally only watched her stuff, because of all the furor of everybody. They just couldn't believe she would talk about such a thing. So what? There's all these games where you beat up women and stab them and stuff. Who cares? You're killing guys, too. And it's like, she cares. People care. It does have an effect. Art criticism is a reason to do it. There is such a thing as feminism. It's like you guys are just, you're not well informed enough for me to take seriously as critics of what she's doing. Okay, I've seen it done better. People that understand even a higher form of that. Because, for example, she's gotten in trouble for some copyright infringement, and not the kind you might think, though she might have gotten in trouble for that too, of using clips from the video games in her presentations, but using other people's artwork, like on her Kickstarter. So guess what? She's no saint. But this message of this of violent fantasies in our culture is an important one, and the role, the women archetypes, the sort of the folk archetypes for women that those archetypes play in this violent fantasy cycle. Yeah, it's part of our psychological problem. You see, look at the world and see how fucked up it is mentally. You think maybe that's related to the? Oh, I think it just might be. So anyway, slow pokes. So nobody shows up, and it's like a 5-minute video. Okay, bye. Maybe 10.